What's going on, YouTube? I'm excited to show you what I've got coming off the rod rack today. Another high-end megabass review. This one is particularly fun. It's a super popular name in the P5 lineup. It's probably most popular because of the name of the rod. It is, of course, the Megabass 110 stick. So, named after their bait, their Vision 110, thwart throwing Vision 110s, obviously other 110 jerk baits. It's made for, but largely it's a 6.5, 1/4, 3/4 ounce rated. It's a 4 power. It's a pretty light 4 power jerk bait rod. So I'm just gonna start diving into what the heck I think about this rod. So first of all, super short butt section on this rod. It is extremely light, as all the P5s are, especially this being a 4 power with the short back section, plus it being a 6'5" rod makes this thing ridiculously light. So it is a extremely slow taper. It's a slow taper by definition, but like this is a true slow. So if I do the bend, like you could see that thing hardly snap back, real slow, still bending. I start getting to the backbone right around the last guide. It is crazy, crazy amount of flex in this rod. So I throw obviously the Vision 110s on one of these. A fantastic Vision 110 rod. You can really get the bait working, snapping the bait back. It feels perfect. I throw a little bit lighter jerk baits. Anything 90s, 80s will work fine on this. I'll probably go up a size a little bit. I wouldn't push it too much. This is on the lighter side in my opinion, so I stick away from the giant or bigger jerk baits and all that sort of stuff. And then the one thing I do want to bring up is this is a fantastic popper rod. This is probably the max size popper that you would put on it. I have a Rio Rico. Sorry for the aesthetic. Actually, I'm not sorry for the aesthetic. I'm sorry for you if your Rio Rico isn't chewed up by a bunch of bass, because that means you're not catching fish. But largely it's fantastic on this rod. So when I'm fishing a popper, I like to do two sort of methods for retrieve: a slow pop, wait a while for the ripples to sort of disappear, and continue pop and continue. And then the other thing is I usually try that first when I'm targeting like a small point of grass point or something that looks particularly exposed cover that might hold a bass near it. So I'll start with that, and then if it looks particularly good, I'll take this, and I'll also try a different retrieve. I will try walking a popper, and some poppers are great for that. Actually, the Pop Max is a great walking bait, and great for both techniques. Not my favorite popper, not my favorite walking bait, but it sort of does both well. And in this case, the Rio Rico it's okay as a walking bait. Definitely not the best, but given the action of this rod, that slow taper, everything, I can get this thing walking pretty fantastically. I can get pretty wide side to side motion, cover a lot of water that way, and show fish two different approach without me having to run to the rod locker, rig up a walking bait, or if I don't have one tied on or something like that. Or so that's one of the advantages of this. So because of that slow taper, you're going to be able to keep fish pinned. You're going to be able to work the bait really well. One of my initial impressions of this rod is this thing seems thin, flimsy. I'm worried I'm going to snap this thing on a big fish. I'm fishing down in Florida. Reality is this thing can handle monsters. it's pretty durable for how thin the blank is, how light it is, everything like that. I wouldn't say it's sort of like it's a different feel than the Loomis, like a NRX, where NRX really feels like any hook set you're going to snap the thing. No, at first glance this feels that way, but when you're fishing it, you're like, oh no, this thing's got it. Like it's set in the hook, and you feel pretty good about it. So it's a different feeling than that. The other thing I could throw on this is small cranks like the Z2, things in that size, maybe the Cyclone. Very small cranks would be another application you could throw with this thing. Other than that, that's one of the downsides to this thing is not extremely versatile rod, right? Like you're gonna do some popper stuff, some jerkbait, poppers, jerkbaits, that sort of thing. But if you're looking for one rod to do a lot of techniques, it's probably not going to be your pick, just because even if you're doing popper and jerkbaits, you're probably going to want two different ones or two different reels, given you either want to do mono or fluoro for the popper, or mono or braid for the popper, or fluoro for your jerkbait. So that's one thing to consider when buying this. The other thing is, I think this rod gets a lot of hype from the name. Again, it's I want to be clear, this is an extremely good rod. There are other rods who are capable of doing these techniques in the lineup. Maybe slightly worse, but they're able to do a lot more. However, again, if you're buying one jerkbait rod and this is going to be your Vision 110 rod, this is the go-to, no doubt in my mind. This is a fantastic rod. Same thing with poppers. This is the best popper rod in the lineup, in my opinion. So other thing is, this is a max size popper I would throw. I'm not sure if I mentioned that yet. I probably wouldn't go too much higher than this. What I pair it with is what I pair most of the P5 lineup with, a CCT. I just find it's the right profile, light enough, balances well with how light this rod is. It's probably a little bit right at the lock nut here, just because this rod is a little bit lighter than the other ones in the lineup, but it's still well balanced in that. And then when you're working it tip down, it actually balances pretty nicely, given you're mostly going to be working the bait. This is a dream to fish for those baits that you're working a lot. If you think about it, when you're working a jerkbait, that's where you're spending the most of the time, tiring your arm out. Lots of pops, lots of action. You're going to get fatigued. This is why I highly recommend getting the right jerkbait rod or the right topwater rod, where it's light, it's got the right action, it's gonna get the bait moving without you having to go nuts and tire yourself out, just so you could get more time on the water without being fatigued. So highly recommend picking up the right rod for that purpose. This is my favorite 110 rod that I've currently tried. There's a couple others that I've used. I've a couple others that I like. I mean, I've used a ton, but this one sort of stands out as having the right action. So there's the 110 Special in the USA Destroyer line.